Welcome back to the Nick Strong podcast, episode 3.
think
4.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I think 4.
the Nick Strong podcast, special guests today, Jen Gasper, Steph Carroll. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
We're just fresh off the heels of another fantastic golf tournament, 3rd annual golf tournament. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about behind the scenes of that golf tournament, all the hard work that you and everyone else pours into that event. I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to thank the sponsors this year because the sponsors help make this happen. Jen, you have a list of sponsors this year for the Nick Strong Golf Tournament. Let's hear it.
So, I mean, we have all of our whole sponsors, which that's a really long list. So I won't name those. Those are super important, though. Our lunch sponsor for the 3rd year in a row is Dave Durant from LaborSoft. And that's a huge one, so we really appreciate that. The Whitmore family sponsored our Canon this year. Audi from Norwell, they come and do a hole where you could possibly lease an Audi if you get a hole in one. Nick Strong Athletics did our swag this year for the bags, which were some really nice koozies and golf towels. And Custom Builders, which is run by Clay Reeder, and he sponsored our golf balls this year. So big thank you to them. And then our volunteers, which was another thing that we couldn't really run this without having our volunteers. So huge thank you to them. It's pretty much the same ones that keep coming back, and we really appreciate having them.
Fantastic stuff. 3rd year in a row being at the New England Golf Country Club. Speaking as a golfer, it's not the easiest course. I'd like an easier course. I know you two don't play it.
We wouldn't know.
But they've been good. They've been good to us, right, Jen?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think
We know nothing about golf, but we can
haven't
run a
even
golf
heard that
tournament.
before. Nobody said that it's the hardest. But
Well, I mean, it's not hard. It's not the hardest, but there's definitely some difficult, challenging holes. A lot of dog leg rights and lefts on that course. Some challenging water holes, but it could be too many visits to the cart girl as she drives by. I don't know. That could also be.
Maybe you should golf more.
Maybe I should golf more. Is a fantastic the way to round that out. 3rd year running. We want to talk about the money raised and where the money goes. Let's talk about the money raised first. All of this stuff, by the way, will be in the newsletter. All the updates that we send out from the Nick Strong Foundation, head to the newsletter. You can find the link at nickstrongfoundation.com/newsletter, nickstrongfoundation.com/newsletter. Sign up to get all the updates, not just about golf, but everything else that we do here. So, Jen, money raised this year. What did we hit?
Yeah, so this is our first time announcing this. So this year we raised $30,000, which I think is our best yet for the golf tournament.
definitely a record high for us. It was
Yeah.
amazing and awesome to see.
25,000 last year?
I think, yes.
Something like that?
Last year. Yep.
Do you remember what year 1 was?
I have to go back to the newsletter.
Back to the newsletter, back to the website.
Yes.
I'm scrolling on the website right now looking for last year's number, because that was right on the homepage. 26,000.
26, okay.
So sold out golf tournament raised 26,000 for the Jackson Laboratory. Speaking of the Jackson Laboratory, that's where this money goes, right?
100%.
What is it? 100%. We've had on guests from the Jackson Lab on this very first episode of this podcast. Fantastic episode to go listen to. I'll link that up in the show notes. What do they do with this money? Why are we raising it? And what do they do with this money?
So they are one of the places that we have found when doing research that is specifically doing germ cell tumor research. And that was important for us. So there's a few different things that they're doing. One of them is they are doing a less invasive alternative to surgical tissue sampling. You know, there's times that you have to have a brain biopsy, and now they're able to do a lumbar puncture, take that fluid and test it, which is much easier than obviously putting your child in surgery to get a sample. There's a few other things that are kind of over my head, but they do talk about in the interview that we did, and I can also write some of that up too and add it to our newsletter.
Jen, I think the other thing that they're really good at is when they're presenting to us, they know their audience. And I know you and Tim are pretty advanced and know a lot more than the average person about this. But I do feel like when they come to the board and they present to us of what they're doing with the money and ask for more money, they do break it down to a way that's easy for us to understand and digest. And they bring their full team. And I know they're always just so thankful and so grateful that they continue to be the recipient of the funds from this.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I say if you go back and watch that podcast with Joanna, she really breaks it down, explains everything they're doing, much easier to understand than when I explain it. So yeah, if you want to check that out to find out more about it.
So I know we have this group thread, text message thread about the run up to the event. I want to kind of go behind the scenes today, just to let people know how much work goes into it. You started earlier this year because I got the text message to create the website landing page. I think maybe back in February. I feel like that's when you told me to start setting it up, and I was like, "Whoa, February! We're kicking things off early." So when does planning start on your end? Like, are we going to have year 4? You were
Yeah,
thinking about year 4? Like,
of course.
when do you start planning it?
I think right away. I mean, I know we have a list and basically anything that we come up with throughout the year, I would say more so on the day of. And I kind of just tell Steph, hey, add this to the list. And it's a lot of things, to do better or things that have gone wrong and didn't work. So we kind of discuss it all year. And you kind of have the biggest job, Matt, with us bugging you to get things going online and
But we do
dealing with
lock in the
numbers.
date. We lock
We
in
do
the
lock in
date
the date. Yeah,
pretty early, even though you started
yeah,
sharing the wrong date at first.
I did. Yeah,
No, but we debrief right after. Like we already have our
yes,
list based on
we do.
feedback we received that day,
Mhm.
and throughout the process. And so we already have our list of things for next year. So we do a debrief like right away. Feel like you lock in the date next, and then we get on Matt for the tech.
Who's giving you feedback? Is it the team? Because I'm completely oblivious. Again, golfing,
I
hanging
think a
out with
lot of it
friends.
is us just kind of
Okay.
No, people come up
see.
to us
Well,
and they give us
there's
feedback.
there are a few, but I do think a lot of it is we're like, oh, this, next year let's do it this way. And I will say it's gotten easier every year. I think this year we found it the easiest to run. Again, it's kind of all the volunteers and sponsors that make it happen. We're just the organizers at this point.
Actually, the thing that we do capture is after the tournament, when it's all done, people are like, next year, I should get this to donate this, or I'm going to get this sponsorship. And I write those down and I remind people of those commitments that were made after the golf
Yes.
tournament. So there's a
Yeah.
few of you on my list that I will be following up with.
We could send out a survey, just thinking out loud on the podcast. I mean, it's something we could do. We could send out a survey to the people who registered. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what
definitely.
questions we would ask that would be like super informative to how we might modify things. But we could, I
Yeah,
guess,
I love
at the end.
feedback. Makes
I
our
know. I
jobs
think the
easier.
thing that we that's always a little tricky is the timing of after, because you have people that come in early and they're hungry and but you don't want to serve the food too early because then there's other people that haven't come. So I do think the timing is always a little tricky of when to put the food out, when to start the raffles, when to do all of that stuff. So I think it'd be great to get feedback on what people
Yeah.
think about that.
What do the people do that sign? Because I think one of the, I don't know, I guess it's unique. We have lunch. You can come for just lunch, right? You can support the foundation. You can support the cause by just coming for lunch. If you're not a golfer, you don't want to play,
Mhm.
you don't want to form a team, you can just come and buy lunch. So what happens with those folks? They just show up and they hang out in that tent. Because obviously I'm out on the course. I don't see what's happening. What are those folks doing?
Yeah, we got the bar to open a little bit earlier than year one. So you can come have a drink. We have a few appetizers out. So there's not too much time. We try to tell them, we're kind of still guessing what time people are going to be done, but I feel like they get there within maybe 30 minutes of when all the golfers start coming in.
Yeah, except for that first year when we really underestimated and people
Yeah.
were waiting like an hour and
Yeah.
a half in that
But there's
time.
also raffles too, so I feel like they're,
Yeah.
buying raffles and checking out all the stuff that we have. So, or just hanging out and talking. So yeah, it's fun.
I know I saw some pictures of bags being put together. You told me there was somebody who disrupted the manufacturing line of the bag.
Yes.
His name will remain
Yes.
undisclosed.
Mhm.
He might live in your house.
Yes.
You
I'm
might have messed
very,
up the
very specific on how
right. So
things have to
talk
go.
talk to us about that specificity you have of putting bags together, and what is that process like? Like you calling Steph over and you guys are lining things up. Like what's it look like?
Yes. So luckily I have a big island in my kitchen now. So we probably have about 2 rounds of filling up the island. And we do probably about 150 bags. And we fill them with snacks for the golfers, waters, the golf balls that are sponsored. Everyone gets a sleeve of those. And then whatever swag we have that year. So this year was the koozies and the golf towels. And my process is that the heavy stuff goes in the bottom so that stuff doesn't get smushed. So, yeah, it's a whole process. It's a lot longer than you would think. Throwing stuff in a bag seems easy, but when there's that many of them and so much stuff, it's a whole process.
Yeah,
Joanne was here this year helping too.
Yes,
it's good.
Jen's mom.
that's where
Steph,
I might get my OCD from.
I would never say that on a recorded
I
podcast
loved
ever.
it.
Steph, there's a lot of logistics that happen behind the scene on your end, sort of wrapping up the whole sponsors, the major sponsors. What does it look like for you? What are you doing during that process? And I guess we can just use this as like a board meeting. Like what can we do better to get sponsors, more sponsors, and like get the assets that you need to do all the sponsorship stuff, like golf ball signs,
Yeah.
the whole sponsors and stuff like that.
So we did receive feedback this year that people didn't realize that they could just do like a whole sponsor from their family and it's only $150. And so we did receive that feedback. So we're always thinking of ways to remind people that they can do that. We work with a woman named Cindy Dixon at Redbirds Branding, and we've been working with her for 3 years. So we have our system down pat. As they come in, I kind of batch send things over to her. Any logos that just aren't right or come in a little fuzzy, she's great about pulling it off the website, and then we'll send it over to the person and say, hey, this isn't what you sent us, but does this look right? And so it's kind of a back and forth just to make sure everyone kind of has the representation that they want and that they thought they were going to have. And then she just keeps batching them and sending them, and then we kind of print them all at the end. And we leveraged Cindy and her team again this year for not only signs but also the koozies and the towels that went in the bags too. So Tim did a lot of back and forth with her. And then we use a different vendor to do the golf balls, and same thing, just getting that logo right, going back and forth with Clay this year to make sure we have it just right.
Can we do t-shirts?
In the
It's a good
bags?
idea.
Well, I mean, just like as like part of something that comes in the well, I guess the bag, or maybe people can buy t-shirts as part of
We need
the
we need a
sponsorship.
sponsor. It's a good idea.
I like it. It's on the list.
And
Maybe
I'm
year 4.
guessing the sponsor, whoever sponsors that T-shirt, their
That's
logo would be on that shirt. So
Mhm.
that's correct.
yes,
That's correct. Let's write it down in the notes,
good
and
thinking.
we'll bring it
Locked
to
in.
the full committee.
And if you are listening to this and you're interested in sponsoring a t-shirt for next year's golf
Yes,
tournament,
you don't
email
have to
us.
wait to let us
Nope.
know.
Lock it
That's
in
right.
now.
That's right. You can email us info@nickstrongfoundation.com or go to nickstrongfoundation.com, click on the contact link, and send us a message that you want to become either the t-shirt sponsor or a sponsor for year 4 of the golf tournament. What's next on the calendar year? We're halfway through 2026, or a little bit more than halfway through 2026. Jen, we have other events this year, probably the 3-on-3. Anything else that folks should
Yes,
know about?
November 8th is the Boston Half Marathon, and Team Nick Strong runs for Dana-Farber, and 100% of our money goes to one of Nick's doctor's research labs at Dana-Farber. And Matt, I heard that you maybe ran a 5K this past weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Jen, and
heard
I'm
that.
still icing my hips from it.
Well,
Hey,
I mean, that sounds to me like you are warming up for something.
yes.
Yeah. And
Can we get a commitment?
we'll get like an 80% commitment.
Ooh,
I'll
Wow.
give you 80.
hey,
Okay.
you're saying there's a chance.
Okay.
You're saying there's
So
a chance.
yes, that is
Jen,
November 8th, and we have our team that is already formed. The BAA opens it to the public, I believe, next month. And last year, I think it was like a record that it sold out in under an hour. So obviously, there is a fundraising commitment. I want to say maybe it's $1,000, but it's all going to a great cause. Kind of gives you some motivation to get out there and run. We have some people that have joined that have never even ran a 5K. So I think it's going to be a great year for Team Nick Strong. I don't have our numbers yet, but I had just reached out to them to get an overall number because this is year 5 for us. So we have that coming up. And then November 11th is our Nick Gaspar 3v3, which this is also year 4.
And folks who want to sponsor that should contact us as well.
Yes. Yes.
Jen, the other thing I wanted to add about the race, which I didn't even realize because I've run for Dana-Farber in years past, for like 10, 12 years ago. You can designate where you want your funds to go. And I
Right.
never realized that. I just kind of fundraised and it went to like Dana-Farber, the overarching. And you were the one that really uncovered that you can specify. And we do raise a lot of money. So it's pretty amazing that we get to do that. And as someone that got the opportunity to go to the hospital with Jen 2 years ago, we did like
Yeah.
the big check presentation and we got to just walk around and see the lab. It was really moving and amazing. And it's really cool when you get to see where the money goes. Like you physically get to go there and walk the hallways. And so, you know, the money's going somewhere good, but it's different when you can see it and feel it.
And that registration is not going to happen on our website, right? That's going to happen on their website, but you'll be
Yeah, I
posting.
mean, I'll post it. I'll link it in the newsletter. I'll link it on, all of our sites for those that want to sign up. Yeah. But no, it's not the money doesn't go to our foundation. It's just something that we do.
Fantastic. All right, that's going to do it for the recap. We want to say thank you to volunteers and sponsors one more time. Steph, let me kick it over to you. Volunteers and sponsors, they mean so much. What can you say about our lovely volunteers and sponsors?
Yeah, so I'm always wondering if each year it's going to get harder and harder to find the support and the sponsors and everything, and it doesn't. And we couldn't do it without the people that continue to sponsor and support and show up and just be part of the community. So thank you so much. We really couldn't do it without you, and it's a meaningful day because of all of you and the way you participate and just show up there for support, whether that's a sponsorship or just joining and playing. So thanks everyone. We really appreciate it.
All right. Second half of this episode coming up is an interview with myself, Jen, and Jen, your friend Meryl Summers, right? Do you remember that conversation?
Yes.
It was a while ago.
I do. Yes. It was it was a while ago.
So we're going to put that in as a part 2. Excited to hear that. And before we sign off, everyone, of course, thanks for listening. If you can share this on social media, that would be great. And tell folks to search for Nick Strong Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow, subscribe, whatever the platform tells you to do, wherever you listen to your podcasts. YouTube, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, doesn't matter. We're everywhere. Steph, Jen, thanks for hanging out today.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Very special guest, a friend of yours today, is going to be joining us to chat about her story in dealing with pediatric cancer. And she also has a foundation, Adelia Strong. You can find it at adeliastrong.com for more information. We'll be talking about that throughout this episode. Why did you reach out to Meryl to interview her today?
So Meryl and I were connected a few years ago by a mutual friend. Nick, at that point, had already been diagnosed. We were probably in year 1, 2021. And her daughter had just been diagnosed with a brain tumor as well. And we've kind of got connected throughout and, shared doctors that actually Nick and Adelia were accepted into the same trial, which Adelia ended up getting there in Seattle, and Nick was almost going to get there, but he didn't quite make it into the trial. So we had kept in touch about that. I just joined her team for Dana-Farber, the Falmouth Road Race. So I think we have a lot of things in common. And, she's passionate about hopefully finding a cure for pediatric cancer and these brain tumors that our kids have.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Jen shared a little bit of a background between your relationship with her and how you met and started getting along and communicating about this stuff. For the listeners who don't know who you are, what else can we add to the Meryl Summers background?
Yeah, hi. My identity with cancer these days. My daughter was 8 when she passed away from a brain tumor called diffuse midline glioma, which is also the same family as diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma that you hear about a little bit more. She was given 9 to 12 months to live and battled for 15 months. And since then, we've created a foundation in her honor. We've done a ton of fundraising and to raise awareness in our community. All of our funding so far has gone to the Brain Tumor Center that merges Dana-Farber and Children's and the amazing labs they have there. And we created a foundation so we could start to get more corporate sponsorships and raise more money and also to have a little bit more flexibility on where we put the funding. So if there's a clinical trial somewhere around the world that's really promising, we could help support them and also to help support families like I know Jen has done with their foundation.
I mentioned this at the top. It's adeliastrong.com. So for the listeners, go ahead and check that out. I'm more of the foundation guy on this call today. I'm curious about how that's gone for you. How long has it been since you started the foundation, and what kind of challenges
Yeah,
have
it's
you had
still
just
very much
operating
in the
this from a
works.
grassroots
It's only
movement kind
been
of
a
thing?
little over a year since Adelia passed, and I know that this is something we want to continue to build for the rest of our lives. So it's really unfolding as we go, and I'm learning a lot about this because it's not my wheelhouse at all. But we are in the process of filling out our board, and we are waiting back from the government actually because it's so backlogged right now and crazy in DC to get our tax exemption status. But we have the tax number and everything, so we're just kind of waiting. If anyone was interested in making a donation, we just have to give the tax receipt retroactively. Yeah, it's a huge learning curve for me, but I think it's also been an incredible platform to start to connect with different foundations in our community as around the world. And it gives us a little more leverage and attention when we're talking to advocates on the political scene, pharmaceutical side of things. So instead of just a bereaved parent.
Yeah. How else do you look at the foundation as making an impact for cancer? I mean, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but like for cancer awareness, for pediatric cancer awareness, like what are the long-term goals?
I think
Yeah, like what you want to do in the
one of our
and your
goals with
passion
starting the
behind this.
foundation is to continue to honor Adelia and her life and keep her spirit alive in our community and beyond. Another goal is to continue to raise awareness about brain cancer. I never imagined in my life that I'd be a parent of a child with cancer. And I think until it happens to you, you don't really think about it. And that's just the sad reality. So our goals are to educate and increase awareness because I don't think it's as rare as people think it is. There were at least 7 kids on caseload at Dana-Farber when we were going through treatment there, and that's just in our area. So just really educating not so much about the specific cancers, but the fact that they're so underfunded. They're not paid attention to in comparison to many adult cancers. Like in pharmaceutical companies in the past 3 decades, there have been, I think 8 up until the past couple weeks, drugs approved by the FDA for childhood cancer, and there's been over 200 for adults. So one of the goals is to really kind of go after the pharmaceutical companies and hold them accountable for their lack of commitment to kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's for me personally, helping Jen and Tim with the foundation. That's, learning about the Jackson Lab and like how all of this stuff works. It's just eye-opening learning how that system works and or it doesn't work, I guess for some degree. So it's definitely eye-opening stuff. You have some other stuff that you're doing at the State House of Massachusetts, where we're all residents of, but I want to kick it over to Jen for a little bit.
I know for me, I have found the foundation really therapeutic, and obviously that's the way we keep our children's names going. So have you found it therapeutic and just helpful in the whole heal? Not
Yeah,
that you're
that's a
ever
great
really
question.
healed,
I
but,
think
in this whole process.
that's a huge motivation and part of my coping process, partly to stay as busy as possible, but to stay busy in a purposeful way. And when you lose a child in any way, but speaking from cancer, it totally changes your identity and meaning of life and trying to find purpose again. I've really felt the creation of the foundation has been instrumental in sort of regaining that purpose again. I never thought that my purpose in life would be to educate and raise funds about pediatric brain cancer. But I see that as Adelia's legacy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I hate the question about how do you do it? How do you move on? And obviously, we both have other children involved. And obviously, we can't just say, we're not going to get out of bed in the morning because we have to. We don't have that choice. We have other kids that are here, and obviously, they become our focus. It has been
Definitely.
extremely helpful just with the coping.
Let's talk about the road race, Jen, about running and dealing with that and helping you deal with it. I mean, it's both therapeutic and physically draining at the same time, right? Training and running these races.
Everyone always
Why do you
makes
both
fun
do
of
it?
me. Yeah. Well, for me, I always say I don't even really like running, but it's just to get out there, clear my mind, and have a purpose to do it. These kids go through so much. So for me to go out and run and be able to raise money for them, why wouldn't I? If I can do it, why not? So it's been extremely
Last year,
helpful,
the
even
Falmouth Road
though I
Race
don't
this
love it.
year was a hot one. That was a hard one to join in on.
It sure was. I ended and said, give me a marathon any day because I struggled with that
We
one.
are
It was
very
just so
grateful
hot.
that
And
you
I
were on our
really
team
don't like running in the
and
heat
you've
like that.
inspired me by your
we did it.
marathon running to join the Dana-Farber team this year. So I'll be on the road with you. But it's sort of actually part of my bigger goal is Delia had a list of places she wanted to travel to, and Tokyo and Sydney in Australia were on the list. And I've wanted to spread her ashes at all the places she wanted to go to over the span of my life. And now Dana-Farber has bibs at those marathons. So Boston will sort of be my tester to see if I can do it, and then hopefully I'll make it to Sydney and Japan and run for her. Yes, and hopefully you'll
You
be
have
with
a
me.
lot of you have a lot of marathons to run now. Yes, we'll see. We'll see. Haven't made that commitment yet.
Yes. So we were talking earlier in the episode, Meryl, that you were working on getting the state level to get some stuff done in the local government. You said that we should all reach out to our local state reps. What is it that you're working on? What's the bill? And if there's any other place.
Sure. Yeah, this is a really important bill that is in the process of being hopefully passed in the state of Massachusetts. And it is to create a fund for pediatric cancer research. And the bill is S1602. And a nearly identical bill tried to be passed last year, but it just got stalled in Ways and Means, and then it never moved. They have about 7,000 bills that need to be passed every year, and unfortunately, this just wasn't the one that was prioritized enough to move. So it's coming back this year. Senator Patrick O'Connor has been a huge advocate, and Representative Giannino in advocating for this bill and raising awareness about it. Testified a couple weeks ago, and then yesterday was the American Childhood Cancer Awareness Day at the State House. So I testified again and asked our representatives to co-sponsor the bill. So I am urging anyone that listens to this to please call your reps and ask them to support this bill, especially what's going on a national level with the brain cancer consortium getting shut down and losing funding, and who knows where the funding is going in the future. Massachusetts really needs to step up to the plate and create this fund. There's only about 6 other states in the country right now with a fund, so Massachusetts would be the 7th. States like Kentucky have over $36 million in them, so it's really shocking that Massachusetts, with all the amazing doctors, and hospitals, and we're creating a cancer center here that we don't have a fund already. As I think you've probably talked about on the show already, that pediatric cancer is so wildly underfunded. It's about $200 million a year in the National Cancer Institute budget. That's like 4% of the budget goes to pediatric cancer, and then less than 1% goes to brain cancer. So $200 million is roughly what Donald Trump is spending on the new ballroom that he wants to build. So it's just it's absolutely mind-blowing that we don't care about our kids in this country, and I'm hoping Massachusetts can sort of be a leader by getting it passed.
If this passes at the state level in Massachusetts, what do you think the first impact is, either for patients or for medical facilities to, benefit from this?
Yeah, it'll go all towards research, and it will automatically become a part of the Massachusetts budget. In Nebraska, when the bill was passed, they allocated $1 per every person. So the entire population of Nebraska made that part of the fund. Obviously, that's not going to happen in Massachusetts because we have so many more people, but the fund will be used for researchers. Labs can apply for grants. They can apply for larger grants, or I think really importantly is sort of the seed funding, getting younger researchers and new research involved so that they can just do a small study and show that it's effective and then go on to really make an impact. And just knowing that's available is a huge burden, I think, relieved off of some of the researchers and doctors' shoulders, that they know that there is money there and available for them.
So you started the foundation, and then you started getting involved with the more legislative side of the state of Massachusetts. How did you prioritize? How did you prioritize that? Right, there's like so much going on in your life. You're starting the foundation. You have kids. Did you happen on like this legislative stuff and just see that and go, I want to be involved with that, or did local legislative folks reach out to you to say, hey, you should get involved with that? How did you get?
So we organized
all of that?
a PanMass Challenge kids ride in our area that had existed before COVID with over 500 riders, and it was this amazing event, and then it kind of disappeared with COVID. So we brought it back for the first time last year, and we're hoping we can really build it for future years. So that's something that the foundation is going to work on doing. But Patrick O'Connor showed up at the event, which was amazing, and he told me about the bill. So it was then that I sort of became one of his constituents, and I was asked to testify. So yeah, honestly, I sort of blacked out.
Was that nerve-wracking?
I'm a bit of a mama bear. I don't let people tell me no for an answer, and I'm not really one of the people that's hesitant to speak their minds. I feel like I just get angrier and angrier on this issue as more time goes by, unfortunately. So I was not nervous. I just was trying to control my inner rage, I guess. It's pretty sad, but it is what it is. It fuels me. I mean, the anger and injustice of what happened to my daughter and what happened to Nick, and just the lack of money, but treatments is just absolutely, I don't even have a word for how sad it is, because in this day and age with all the technology that we have, we can't come up with something better. And even, it's not to compare cancers, like one cancer is worse than another.
Right.
I don't mean to be doing that, but in terms of like glioblastoma for adults, which it still occurs in kids, but very rarely, there's so many drugs that are FDA approved for glioblastoma, and the prognosis is generally equally as grim, but there's hundreds and thousands of more trials going on for glioblastoma because it's an adult cancer and not for what Nick had and what Adelia had.
And it's frustrating, it makes parents like us feel like, oh, well, because it's so rare, there's, isn't it? It's like they weren't important
Exactly.
enough. And, let's fund other things that will bring in more money.
And Jen, this is why you work so hard to take, most of the money that we raise at the Nick Strong Foundation and sending it over to the Jackson Lab, right? Because you see that as a way to say, look, I'm gonna be transparent. Number one, like, we're gonna raise this money, we're gonna communicate it to everybody. Like, here's the X amount of dollars we raise, and then we're giving it all to Jackson Lab and here's why. I mean, I guess part of that is because of that frustration, right, for you and Tim?
Right. And I mean, we support all other pediatric cancers as well. It's not like we're just that, we support whatever we can when it comes to the pediatric side of it. And then families as well as kind of our other thing that we do. Yeah, because if we're not going to fund it, who is? We had talked about in one of our episodes, there might be just 14 kids in the country that have what Nick had. So if the other 13 families aren't able to have this platform and talk about it and raise funds, then who is?
You guys are doing an incredible job, and honestly,
I
creating
don't
this
want to
foundation.
just wait until the next.
I look at you guys for inspiration and energy because you've done so much. I see Nick Strong things everywhere, and it's amazing.
Thank you. And you guys are doing great too.
Awesome. All right, Meryl, I'll give you just a chance if you want to just, I'll say plug the foundation, but anything that you want to close with.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today and having me share my story about Adelia and our foundation. If you'd like to learn more about Adelia and the cancer she had or what we're doing as a foundation, you can visit www.adeliastrong.com. Thank you, Jen, for all the work that you're doing. This is so important, and we will keep pushing until the needle's moved on these cancers. So thanks. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Bye. All right, Jen, another fantastic episode of the Nick Strong podcast. Meryl has a ton of stuff going on. It was great to learn about how, some of the same challenges you and Tim face starting the foundation, getting that off the ground, and really helped educate us on that state level stuff. Is that something
super interesting?
Had you heard about that before meeting Meryl?
I have heard of it, and unfortunately, I just really haven't been super involved in it. Obviously, I fully support it and will do whatever I can. We've kind of just, I think, been focusing on other things and been super busy with that. But, it was interesting to learn a little bit more about and learn about what we can do to support it.
We'll have all that information on the nickstrongfoundation.com website, of course. And if you're on our newsletter, nickstrongfoundation.com/subscribe. nickstrongpodcast.com, share it with others. You can find it wherever you're watching or listening to this, there'll probably be a subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share it with others, or search for Nick Strong Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, Jen, for episode number 3.
Thanks, Matt.
Are you sure it's episode 3, not 4? Is it only 3? I thought it was 4. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening.